ton of videos on my FYP of Americans who move to Europe and talk about how much better it is to live in Europe than it is to live in the US. So as a European who moved to America, I feel like I can share an interesting perspective here. For context, I lived in London as a child and then my family moved to Ireland. That's where I went to university, and I've also lived in France. I've traveled all over Europe, and now I've been living in New York for 4.5 years, and I've done a bunch of summers here before that too. So I feel like I have a good breadth of experience of life in both. I think the biggest difference comes down to how the baseline level of things in life in Europe are just accounted for. Healthcare, schooling, just taken care of. Regardless of your income levels, you have access to those things. There are also incredible benefits and social programs all across Europe. Because of those things, the discrepancies in wealth are lower, and across European countries, people are generally happier and calmer because there aren't swaths of society in crisis mode to meet basic needs. Of course, there are exceptions to that, I'm just broadly speaking. Whereas here in the US, you get nothing for nothing. Healthcare is the biggest one for me. It's enormously expensive. It's shocking that you pay if you're sick. It blows my mind, and I've been here for years. The immigration system, I mean, this is a story for another day. Even when it comes down to schooling, you know, I've noticed I'm in my mid-20s. When I'm having these conversations about having children and getting married and stuff like that with friends, how much it costs is a huge factor, because your kids' schooling will be funded based on the area that you can afford to live in. The level of healthcare that they can receive is based on how much you can afford to provide them with. Everything is a much more financial decision than it is at home. And I think that's why the US